It's very lovely to see you here, and I hope it's gonna be very educational for you as well, because I really love sharing my knowledge, and I would love to share right now today the knowledge about construction drawings, essentially how to make your life as interior designer easier and make your communication with your clients, the constructors, builders, much easier. So let's start. Today we're going to talk about construction drawings. My name is Vlada. As you might know, I have bachelor and master's in architecture, and right now I'm building my studio Recreate. We focus on interior in my studio, and I have a very big desire and passion to teach people, and that's why we're here today, for me to share my knowledge with you about construction drawings and how properly manipulate them. Here we have the sequence of our webinars, and this is the webinar number 2 already. We had webinar number 1. You can see the recording of it. And today it's about construction drawings, and essentially how we build those webinars is how I actually work on my project, on the project sequence, because as an interior designer, you always have to have a very clear sequence in your head that you have to also share with your clients, because so much clients would come to you with so much different interior desires. For example, there would be one client who comes to you and say, hey, I just rented a new apartment. We're super excited to move in, but we would like to hire you as an interior designer to maybe choose furniture, lighting fixture, and so on. And then there would be another client who comes to you and say, hey, we just bought a house and would like to have complete new plan layout, new electric layout, and so on. Those two clients are both important for you as an interior designer, but you need to clear structure in your head and as well share the clear structure with the client, because it's so important for invoicing, to know how much time you're going to spend for the project, and to just plan your time correctly. That's why actually how I structure my design process, that's how we structured our webinars. So I always start with design proposal, and we talked about it on our webinar number 1. And design proposal, this is the part where I do the initial plan layouts, then I do 3D design proposal and spec sheet with all the furniture and light fixtures for the clients. And after this would be one invoice that I send to the clients, and this would be one part of the project. And both of the before mentioned projects, the same as like a rental property or a new build property, or that could be also structured in the design proposal. But then you need to take your home further if you want to do, for example, new plan layout, new electrical layout. For this, we have exactly construction drawings phase, which I also would be charging differently my clients, and I would also time is completely different from the phase number 1. And I can't start phase number 2 without having a clear detailed plans, without having a clear 3D design proposal, because itself, you're going to spend so much time in the construction drawings, and if you don't know exactly, like if you don't have confirmed final 3D proposal and 2D proposal, you can't just start your construction drawings. And today we're going to talk about the preparation phase. What do you have to do before starting construction drawings? Of course, the main part would be construction drawings themselves. This would be the part where I share my project with you, and I'm going to share with you what exact construction drawings I share with the clients and builders. And of course, the very important part is spec sheets, because this is the part which brings your ideas into reality. So let's start. I'm excited. Hope you are as well. And on the preparation phase, we always, as I mentioned before, have to have already a finished 2D plans, a finished 3D plans, and already a finished spec sheet for furniture and lighting. And you know it yourself as an interior designer that it's so important to get everything right at the very beginning, rather than to change all the construction drawings afterwards. That's why I always like to have everything confirmed from the client. And my tip to you is always to have this confirmed in written form, so the client can send you either a WhatsApp message or email that I am happy with 2D floor plans, I am happy with 3D design, no changes necessary. We're happy to proceed into the construction phase. And then, of course, big pieces of furniture, I would also like the clients choose them before starting the construction phase. What I mean is like maybe a bed, a table. Like I don't really care about the chairs, which chair would be. Like it's not necessary for the construction phase, but the size of the table, the size of the couch, the size of the bed, those like three big pillars of the furniture in our design. That's why all the maybe electrical layout, floor layout will be also tiled and scheduled around those two or like three main furniture pieces. That's why it's so important to know it just before you start the construction drawings. And the software I'm working with, it's, as I mentioned before, Rhine Design. And in Rhine Design, I like to share with the client the initial plan layout, because the graphic there is just very nice. You can see how aesthetic everything looks like. And it's just so easily to adjust furniture, maybe add some extra chairs, some extra sofas, and so on. But to proceed with the construction drawings, then I export everything what we have in Rhine Design, like the confirmed floor plan layout. I would export it in the DWG, and this is normally like a very typical format, the CAD format that all the designers and architects work in. And then I import this into AutoCAD, and I start to do all my construction drawings in AutoCAD, because then I have more control over what I want to put into my drawings. We have also few important people that we need to confirm with before starting our construction drawings. And let's say if it's a new house and you're doing a plan layout, then of course you need to know if you have to have a planning permission for a new plan layout. I know each country is different, and there's so much regulations would be different in all different countries. But I know that, for example, in Europe it's very, very strict. And if your house is historical house, or it has to be historically preserved, then you're not allowed to change internal layout without planning permission. That's why you always have to know about the regulation in your country. You know yourself, it's going to be so disappointing if you did everything as an interior designer, you had plans, you had an amazing design, the clients are so happy, and then you know that, okay, I can't build it because I don't have any planning permission. That's why before even investing your time into construction drawings, always see if you need a planning permission or not. Then if it's a new house, I would assume, and that's how I actually work as well, there would be architects on the projects who would already maybe start building the buildings, and they would have a construction drawings, and the client would hire you as an interior designer to proceed with the design. And I get this question actually quite a lot, because I'm an architect and an interior designer. First of all, what's the difference, and why someone would hire an interior designer rather than an architect? And I get this question a lot. But the main thing that you have to understand that the architects, they focus on the building itself, they focus on the external of the house, whereas like they don't really care if your sofa would be green, yellow, or like not your, but the sofa of your clients. That's why the client would come to interior designer and proceed with their vision with the interior design after the house is built, or maybe it's under construction. That's why just check with an architect. They're always very happy when the clients have an interior designer on site, because it makes their life as well easier, because then the client wouldn't annoy the architect with maybe the questions that are not relevant to the architect. Again, what size of the table, what color of the sofa, that's also going to be part of interior designers. Of course, there have to be engineers on board if you're moving any walls, if you do structural changes. because it's just so important to get everything right. You know yourself, if the wall is load bearing and you accidentally move it, then your client family is on immersed like a danger of the house not being stable enough. And I have a lot of clients that actually come to me and they want to have a plan layout changes. They don't need an architect because it's their private house, or they also don't need applying permissions again because it's their private house. So they only want to work with me as an interior designer on a new plan layout. And at the very beginning of the work, I always recommend the clients, or not even recommend, I always insist that they're gonna hire an engineer that's gonna have a look at my plans afterwards and see if everything is okay, if we're allowed to move this wall, or maybe make a door opening in another wall. And this would be also included not in your invoice as an interior designer, but an invoice from an engineer. That have to be just complete separate two invoices for the client. Of course, I also work with the plumbers, because if I do a new bathroom layout or maybe a kitchen layout, I need to know how long the drainage have to be, or maybe am I even allowed to move the bathroom from one corner of the house to another. That's why I just do my layout, I propose this to the client, but before even going into construction drawings, I would always check with the plumbers, is everything okay with my new planning? Even if I move the toilet maybe 1-2 meters away from the initial position, I would always like to talk with the plumbers beforehand, and the client have to pay the plumber separately again. But this is very necessary, because otherwise you plan something that may be not feasible afterwards at all. And then let's go now to the main maybe section, construction drawings. And here I'm going to share with you everything what I share with my clients. We're gonna have a look at one room from the whole project. And firstly, what you get from the client is initial measurements. And there are a few ways how you can obtain the initial measurements. And of course, you have to obtain them before even starting your design phase. I hope you already have, like by the start of the construction drawings, you have to have this. Like, I hope you already have it, and you base your layout, your proposed layout on the actual initial measurements. And the ways you can obtain them, it's either from the architect. Sometimes architects are very nice and can share with you CAD file that you can straight away import into the AutoCAD, for example, if you work in AutoCAD. Or it can be from the landlord. Then it's not going to be that precise as from the architect. And I always would like to double check it. Maybe then I would ask the clients to measure it themselves, or hire someone to measure it, or okay, they can hire me as an interior designer to do the measurements on site. And I think I mentioned this already on our first session. I always charge this extra because you as an interior designer going on site and measuring, it's not a design proposal, it's not your services, it's extra services. That's why it's my tip for you as well to charge it separately. And then we move into the furniture layout plan. And already, as I mentioned it in my first webinar, I always like to share with the clients 2 furniture layout plans, one with dimensions and one without dimension, because you have to understand the clients, just essentially the people who never work with construction drawings or drawings in general, and they just don't understand sometimes that this is true. They sometimes just don't understand the difference between the lines between the furniture line and the dimension line, and the drawing just seems for them impossible to read or very hard to read. That's why, just for easier communication, and you as an interior designer, essentially what you want to do is do an easier communication in between you, your ideas, the builders, and the clients. That's why I always just recommend just put 2 plans. That's not too much work for you, but it's gonna make a huge difference for the client. And then let's go and start actual construction drawings. After we do those 2 initial planning and floor layout plan on the design phase. And here we start firstly with the walls. And if you have new walls, you have to show the demolition of the walls if you have old walls. And of course, you need to have a new walls very clearly determined on your drawings, and the client and the builders have to see directly which are the existing walls and where you have the new walls. And As you can see here, I have walls in yellow, but you can also check with your country. I know in every country, the new walls could be different. Like say, for example, in Switzerland or Germany, all new walls would be marked in red. Whereas in other countries, like this is another country where I did a project, it was marked in yellow. And I also like to specify the like the actual dimension of the wall, the depth of it. Let's say in this project, I use concrete blocks, which are 100 millimeters, and then both sides of this new wall, I have wall plaster. That's why it's extra 10 millimeters both sides. And I recommend you to put onto your construction drawings as much as information as possible, because if you are lucky, of course, if you are lucky, your building crew would be very educated. They would know straight away, they would see your design, your drawings, and they would know straight away how to build it and how to actually do this. But sometimes you're not that lucky, and the builders wouldn't be that educated, and then you would think, oh God, this is like such a simple design idea, and they would do it wrong because they just maybe do it in the first time, or maybe your design idea is a bit complicated for them. You never know. That's why I always recommend just put as much information as possible to your drawings. Let's say here on the floor plans, on the wall demolition and installation plan, I always put information about the door. And you know itself, as an interior designers, there are different dimensions for the wall, for the walls when you have a door. Firstly, for the door opening, and then for a door itself. That's why I always like to put the door panel dimensions near the dimension of the wall opening. Let's say in this project, this would be in the future bedroom. For the wall opening, I have 90 centimeters that I put in the drawings. But then I also state here that the door panel have to be 80 centimeters in wide and 200 centimeters high. That's why this extra 5 centimeters, that's going to be assigned for the frame of the door in the future. But if you not give this small information, then maybe the builders would do it somehow wrong. Maybe then they would think, oh, this is 90 centimeters. That would be actually for the door panel. So they would do the wall opening 1,000 millimeters then. That's why just put as much information as you can. Also, we have a very important part of our construction drawings. It's a sanitary. And as you can see on the furniture layout plan, all what the client will receive is actually the plans with all sanitary appliances. But the plumbers, when they work for plumbing, drainage, and other pipes, they wouldn't have all the furniture installed. All they have when they are working on site is just walls. That's why you have to always indicate the dimensions from the wall to the drainage exit. That's so important, because then the plumbers can know exactly where they have to lead their drain system, hot and cold water, and so on. That's why I always indicate for the sinks, toilets, bathrooms. Oh, sorry, for the bathrooms, and then for the bath tubes, for the showers, where the exit of the drainage and hot and cold water. As you can see in this drawing, I also indicated the exit for the water towel rack, and this is also very important for you to not to forget any small thing, because then maybe if you not indicated specifically that this is a towel rack, the builders on site or the plumbers on site wouldn't even notice this, because they're not even looking at it. That's why, again, if it is all obvious for you as for interior designer, it's not 100% obvious for other people. That's why I always ask my employees, and I always do it myself. I always put as much as information as I can on the construction drawings, even if it's a double information, even if I have this information already on another drawing, I always would put it on every drawing which is relevant. Let's move to the next drawings, and that would be floor covering plan. And of course, if you do new flooring, it's so important to show to your clients, to the builders, Of course, firstly, of course, the name of the parquet. For example, here we're talking about the parquet, the name of the parquet, then area. The specification of the area is very important because imagine being either builders or the client who's going shopping for the parquet, and they need to then they will be messaging you saying, hey, how much parquet do I need to buy? What the area of the maybe of the room one or room number two? That's why I just always put it at the beginning, so the clients would know it and not ask me 100 times how much parquet, for example, they need to buy. Then we have a representation in the project for the parquet or for the tiles, for example. And then I always like to put an actual image that I took from the website, so the client can see the color straight away. We also have skirting boards for the floor layout plan. And I like to put the link to the skirting board that I recommend to buy for the client and the small image. And of course, the height of the skirting board will be very relevant to your project, because we as interior designers, we have to take care of every little detail. So then essentially your ideas would come to life smoothly. And next, what I provide the clients and the builders with is the ceiling plan. And the ceiling plan is also very important because, of course, you have to specify how low you want to put your ceiling down. And of course, we have to again specify the area, because if you use a plaster or drywall for the ceiling, it has to be painted afterwards. That's why the client would need to know how much paint do they essentially need to buy at the end. Then what I also specify in the ceiling plan is the ceiling cornice. And I always put the name, I always put the link to the actual one that I choose, and running meters. And here you have to be careful, it's not square meter, of course, it's not an area of the ceiling cornice, it's a running meter. And then I always, maybe like if I use the one, and typically you would use one ceiling cornice throughout all of your projects. So then I specify it not only for the bedroom, but of course for the whole project, for the whole apartment. And then we have here the representation of the project for the cornice, for the ceiling cornice, and the image that I took again from the website. We have cornice, and you have to be very careful with cornice. For example, when you want to have you want to have the cornice throughout the whole your apartment. Have a look here, for example, at the kitchen. Above the kitchen, you have cornice. That's why you have to drop your ceiling lower on the part above the kitchen, as I stated here, for example, in red, because your cornice has to have a support on the back to be held with the ceiling drop that you or your builders essentially would do. That's why on all the ropes, all the kitchen, I would always drop the ceiling lower. But for doing this, I already have to know the height of the cornice. So this is the small details, but it's so important to not to forget about it. Otherwise, for example, for the kitchen, you would have a situation when your upper cupboards would be straightly directly to the ceiling running, and you wouldn't have a place for the cornice. Then we have a lighting fixture plan. And again, you have to remember, when electricians are on site, they don't have any furniture. All what they have is just walls. That's why all the dimensions have to be done from the lighting fixture to the wall itself, never to the furniture, just always lead to the wall. And what I like to do, I like to always use colors for different plans. And I always specify the colors, the most important information from the drawing. It's why I always do, for example, the fixtures in different colors. Let's say here we have the chandelier. It's I marked it in red. Then we also have it a blue for pendant light, of course, above the nightstands, and we have green for recessed spotlights. And of course, all you want to do with your construction drawings is to make the life of your client and the builders easier. That's why just use colors, just use all the tools that you know to make, of course, your life easier at the end. What we have next is the switch plan. And here I specify the connection from the switch to the lighting fixture. And for example, what I always do in my bedroom is I always do the connection when you just enter the room, you have your switch, and then you have two more switches on both sides of the bed, and they have to be lower, because when you're laying in the bed, you don't really want to stand up and turn off your light. That's why it's always have to be very easy accessible from the bed. And for this, I use double pole switch. And of course, everything what you use in your construction drawings, you have to specify extra on your construction drawing. So I always put the small legend if I use a single pole switch, double pole switch, or the pass-through switch. Of course, I always put my switches on the height of 90 to 100 centimeters from the floor. I think it's very comfortable distance for the standing person to turn off and on the light. And again, I put a small drawing on my construction drawings, so the builders would know this. Because again, if you're very, very happy, the builders wouldn't need this information. They would know it from maybe other projects that this is a very comfortable height for the light switch. But if you're not lucky, then your builders wouldn't know this, and maybe would put it at the end too low or too high to the comfortable use. Next, I would do the socket plan, and of course, all those three plans, they belong to the electrician, and electrician would need all those three plans. I just like to divide all this information on three different plans, so it's not going to be very like the one plan that I showed the electrician, it wouldn't be very overused, or there would be too much for them to understand the information. And for the socket, I like to state that I want all of them to be 25 centimeters above the floor. I feel it's very comfortable distance, and your sockets are not that visible, because of course the person height is 160 centimeters, and always, like, typically we just look in front of our eyes and not very much below our eyes. And also you need to know that for bathrooms, you have to use waterproof sockets. They're not much more expensive than the normal sockets. They just have a waterproof system. That's very important for the water areas, for the areas where you can have access to the water. And all the other sockets could be maybe stated in another color. As you can see here, I state everything in orange, the normal sockets, and in red, I state the waterproof sockets. Next, we have a door schedule, and the door schedule is also an important part of your construction drawings, because of course you have different types of the doors and maybe even different dimensions of the doors. As you can see here in this drawing, door number 3 would be smaller, that would be more narrow. It's going to be 70 centimeters because it leads to the bathroom or maybe the storage space. And door number 4 and 5 would be 80 centimeters in width, and those two doors would lead to the bedrooms. That's why you just put the picture of the door. If you, of course, maybe you don't have a door that you know that you're going to use in this project, but then you can maybe put a Pinterest image or just like a random image from the internet, but just to show your client what exact doors do they need to buy. And of course, I like to put a small description. If this would be a custom-made door, then all the description would be very necessary for the ones who is going to make the store. And then, of course, the very, very big part of your construction drawings would be elevations. And you can't underestimate how much time you're going to put into elevations. This is my least favorite part of the construction drawings, is doing elevations. Like, for me, they're taking so much time, and you have to use so much precision to do them that you just can't underestimate how much time you're going to put in it. And of course, again, I like to state all my information on elevation. For example, we have here collage of the bedroom. I always, of course, show the collage or maybe a 3D of the room that we're going to talk about, or the room that I represent right now in the construction drawings. And then I put elevation nearby, and the elevation have to be not only the main wall, it has to be all 4 walls. If you're lucky, if your room has 4 walls. If you're not that lucky, your room would have more walls, and you have to do elevation of each of the walls. I also like to always put my electric details in another color. So here you can see I always use pink for electric. So the electricians, when they're on site, when they have my drawings in their hand, they could directly determine where the connections they need to make on site. And then we have a spec sheet, and it's also a very important part of the project because this is essentially the part that will bring your ideas to life. And we always have to use a spec sheet to show the client the furniture, let's say a sofa, a chair, a light fixture. But then when we take our project to construction site, you have a more complicated elements that you have to show in the spec sheet. It's going to be finishes, it's going to be maybe different toilets, maybe different showers. That's why it's also very important to have a very clear structure, how you're going to communicate with the client. And then you also have a builders, how to communicate with the client, with the builder, and of course yourself, to share your ideas with everyone in a very clear and structural way. And here I would like to do you a small demonstration of the sheet. And I really like to use it for the construction drawings as well, because it just makes my life again easier. And I always try to find the ways how to make my life as an interior designer easier, because of course time is everything. Time is very valuable resource. See in the spec sheet is of course the image of the product that you recommend. And let's have a look at the flooring. Of course, again, you can see here showers, you can see here sink cabinets, if you plan the bathroom, for example. But for the flooring, it's so important to know all the elements, like little details, and again for the tiles, to make your life easier. Again, I love it. I love this phrase because I'm trying to make my life easier, and I feel this program helps me so much. So let's come back to the spec sheet. You have to state, of course, here to what room you are planning. Here you have bathroom, here you have a living room. And it's very comfortable that you can also specify the type of your proposed item. Like, let's say it's going to be for walls and ceiling, or it's going to be decorations, or it has to be, or maybe there's a bathroom fixture. And you always can adjust it to your search. For example, if you want to see everything together, of course, you can see everything together without this divisions, but if you need to see, for example, just tiles, you can switch and see just flooring, let's say. What I also always share with the clients is the depth of the material, because imagine you have a kitchen together, well, like not always, but most of the time you have kitchen together with the living room. And on the kitchen, a lot of clients prefer to use tiles, or maybe like around the kitchen, and on the other part for living area they would use parquet. And you have to be very careful to join those materials together, because sometimes they would have a different depth. And as you can see here, you can also mention this in your spec sheet, that maybe this flooring would be 70 millimeters in depth, and the parquet would be 14 millimeters in depth. I also very like the feature of the program that we can add any floor plan here, and maybe also details. And for example, here I have this floor detail that I'm trying to explain to you right now, that we have a junction between tile and the plywood. And as you can see here, those two materials, they also have two different depths. That's why it's so important to state the depth to your spec sheet, so the builders also would need to know how to connect those two materials properly on site. What I also like about the program of the software is that we have a different view, and of course we can regulate here what type of room maybe we want to see right now, or we're looking for. Let's say here I have everything for the bathroom, and then I also have everything for the living room. what I also always add to my project is floor plans, because of course, as an interior designer, you send your floor plans to the client directly via email maybe or WhatsApp. But then when the client is looking into the spec sheets, they don't really want to go to another PDF. They will always like to have everything in one place. And it's always so nice to have everything in one place, to have everything organized. So here, for example, you can see a floor plan, ceiling plan as well, or the lighting plan. And another very nice feature of the program, if you're working with the positions, here we can see the position to every lighting fixture. For example, here the position number 1, and this would be a plan from the electrician, for example. Then you can go back to your spec sheet, and you can state that if we go back to this view, we can state that for our lighting fixture, this would be for the position number 1. What I also like is the feature that you can change if the product is proposed, or it's rejected by the client, or it's approved, or even ordered already. Because then essentially what you do, you make a spec sheet, and then you share this with the client and with the builders, and then they can also make some comments about the work, your work, to make the communication quite easier. And of course, you can also communicate here about the whole product. You can write a message. You can write a message as an interior designer. Your client can write a message. Let's say we can say that it is arriving on Thursday, and then you send it, and the client, the contractor, everyone would see that this product is arriving on Thursday, for example, and you don't have to write extra messages or extra emails for everyone. And you know yourself, you have like maybe 1,000 products on site, and you always want to have your communication done smoothly. Okay, and then the way you actually clip the product is that you have here on the Google Home, you have the extension from the sheet, and you go to the extension, it's always there. And for example, right now I want to clip the tile. I go to the extension, I clip the tile, I clip first the image, I use maybe this plus function to clip the name. The program is quite easy to use, and it's very easy to understand how to work with it. Then, of course, I'm specifying this would be tiles. That is going to be my wall tiles, for example, for the bathroom. I can put all the information that I need or my client need to make a choice for the product. And the price, you can also add the things manually. You can also type something. For example, here I type the price. And I add this to the product to my project, and it's going to be let's say bathroom. Clip to the project, and quite easily you have it here in your project. Again, this is a very simple way of communicating with the client. Here's the tiles that we just added, and I guess here we can go back to the presentation. Let's go through the summary. I hope that was useful for you. I hope you got a little bit more information for your future projects, and I wish you so much luck on your projects. And I think you all are very good interior designers, because you're looking for information, because you're learning. And me, myself, I have more than 10 years of experience, because I worked in architectural firms. I studied a lot, but I always like to learn from other people, because it just makes my life, again, easier, because everything that other people say, I can use essentially for my project. And let's summarize the whole webinar that we had today. So about construction drawings, there are 13 very essential drawings that you have to have for your clients. And as a gift for you, we did a checklist. You would have all the drawings that I showed you today in a form of the checklist, where you can tackle if you're, for example, working on the construction drawings, to again make the whole process smooth for you as well, as interior designers. We have spec sheets, which are a part that you can't underestimate, again, because it's just the part that connects your design vision to life, your design vision to the client. And on the construction drawing phase, you always have to remember that it's not only you and the client as the phase number one, it's always you, the client, and the builder who is bringing your ideas to life. And the way you work smoothly, the way you structure your process is that you take everyone together in one spec sheet, so everyone has access to it and everyone can work on it quite smoothly. And I welcome you to the webinar number 3, where we talk about site supervision, and this would be last part of construction of the whole design process. That's also a very hard and important part of your project if you want to bring your ideas to life. It's very important to go on site to check that everything is done according to your construction drawings that you learned about today. And I also would be very, very happy to see you at the construction drawing webinar, where I'm gonna talk about all my tricks and all my ways of construction site supervision. It's going to be on the Thursday, 19th of September at the same time, 17:30 Central European time. And right now, I feel we can go to a Q&A session. And here I'm starting with the question from Sanitary. Again, I'm very, very sorry if I read your name incorrectly, because again, we're coming from different countries. We all have different accents and pronunciation. That's why just excuse me if I do, like if I say it's not correctly. But Sanitary asked, so the clients and contractors need to have the sheet up too in order to see the comments from the architect. You as an interior designer or as an architect, you have this app, and it's not even an app, it's an online platform. It's completely free actually, for you, for your clients, for everyone. You do all the modifications there, you add all the products, and then you send the link, you share the link, the feature that I showed you before, and the client and the contractors would see everything what you did, but they can't modify this. They can't add another product. What they can do is they can change the status of the product, if this is a proposed or ordered, for example, or rejected. And they also can add notes. Yeah, and everyone would see the comments from each other. The client would see the comment from the contractor, and you would see the comment from the client, and so on. Sarah asked, I have a question about the products, furniture, materials, and fixtures. Where do you get them? Oh, there's going to be a very, very different list of the shops that I get them from the shop that you get them, because, for example, the shops that are very popular in Germany, they're not going to be that popular in Switzerland. And if I work with the Swiss clients, I would use another shops. If I work maybe with a client from the Portugal, it's going to be complete another shop. Of course, maybe the biggest shop would be IKEA, and I quite often actually refer to IKEA because, and I also recommend my students to refer to IKEA because I feel IKEA have a very nice range of standard measurements. And if you plan, let's say you plan a bathroom and you don't know maybe the dimension of the cabinet sink or like the sink cabinet that you want to use into your project, that I will always recommend just to go to IKEA, have a look at the standard measurements, and then you can use it into your project. You don't have to take this sink cabinet, for example, in the future, but then you know the dimensions are standard, the same sink cabinets exist, and then you can choose something better in the future stages of the project. So Precious Sabeka asked, hi, thank you so much for this. This is more of a question from the previous webinar. Please advise on how we can grow online presence. I would recommend you always to connect with other creators that maybe have the same following as you, and this is how you grow your community as well on your socials. And always try to post regularly, and don't be disappointed if maybe you're just starting and your reel is getting maybe 20 views. Just don't be disappointed about it. And I always recommend you to treat content creation as another work and as another job. You can't say, oh, right now I have time, I have mood to do maybe a reel, but then next week I'm too busy, I have family, I have work, and I don't have completely no time to do this. No, that's not going to work like that. And even me with my social media, for the first 3 years, I did it regularly. I posted every second day. I didn't see any growth. Maybe in those 3 years, I would grow. I had maybe like 1,500 followers, and then I grew to 3,000 followers. But you know yourself, this was so disappointing for me that I was posting regularly. I was posting a very good content that I thought it's good, but maybe it wasn't promoted by the Instagram. The Instagram maybe would show my reel to 20 people, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. Just don't be disappointed, because after hard work, if you put a lot of effort into it, someday the algorithm would be like it to you and your reel will be promoted. And if you already have a good base before, the people will follow you because they would see that your work is good. And so I just advise you, don't lose your end goal. Your end goal essentially is to find clients through the social media. So just keep going no matter what. Who asked, besides sharing, will there be an expert tool in the future? Yes, it will be also a future to, of course, print the spec sheets and maybe bring it to the construction site. You know, as an interior designer or an architect, it's so important to have everything in paper and not only on the digital form. Nawal asked, what is the pathway to take as someone who is interested in doing interior designing? Of course, it's very I would never recommend you to quit your job and start to work as an interior designer. That's how I did it myself as well. I firstly worked in the offices. I worked as an architect, and I started always reducing my work time. For example, I worked 70. Firstly, I worked 100%, and I worked as an interior designer only on my weekends. And then I saw, okay, I have more clients. I can take another extra day for my own business. So I asked my boss if I can work 4 days a week. And then I had Friday off, and I also worked Friday for my interior firm. And then I asked him, okay, can I reduce my work time? Can I work 3 days a week and have more days for my interior studio? And that's how I gradually switched from working for someone to work on myself. And I always would recommend you to do the same. This is a very safe way to gradually start working as an interior designer. Is the website free to use? Yes, the sheet is completely free to use. Mihail asked, hi Vlada, you are a huge inspiration. Thank you very much. I would like to know if it's better to draw floor plans in AutoCAD or just work off the SketchUp model. I never recommend you work with the plans in SketchUp model, and how I always connect my plans with the SketchUp is that I work in AutoCAD because it's a very good tool for drawing 2D, and then I take my drawings, I export into DWG format, and then I put this format into the SketchUp. And if you have SketchUp Pro, you can extrude all of your walls because all the lines will be in vector. You can extrude your walls and then continue working on the SketchUp. But then, for example, for the construction drawings, you can't do this in SketchUp. It's going to take so much time because SketchUp program is only built for 2D modeling. Stephanie asked, what masters did you take? I did bachelor and master's in architecture. I had a school, it was a public, no, both of the schools were public. I had a public school, UCD, the college called, in Dublin for my bachelor, and my master's, HSLU, Hochschule Luzern, that was for my master's, and those both schools are public schools. Malak asked, I already know AutoCAD and Revit, and I'm efficient in it. Do you think it is worth now to invest time in learning SketchUp? Let's say if you know programs very well and you're efficient in those programs, just stay in the programs that are comfortable for you. I just worked in a lot of different programs as an architect. I also worked in ArchiCAD, AutoCAD, Vectorworks, Revit, and all other programs. But I found for me, SketchUp works most like I work faster in SketchUp, and it's easier to adjust your interior ideas or the interior changes. For example, the client asks you, "Oh, I don't like the color of the wall," or "I don't like the color of the sofa." Then it would take me longer to change the color of the sofa in Revit and then export the 3D image to the client rather than do this in SketchUp, because I feel SketchUp is quite easy to work with to represent your ideas, especially your design ideas. Maybe SketchUp is not there that very well works with architecture work, with architecture, but then for interiors, I just prefer personally to use it for 3Ds. Fashiha asked, "Hi, Vlada Koch, your webinars are amazing. Again, thank you very much for your support. It means for me so much that you are here, you are listening to me, and I'm happy to share my knowledge with you. I have been following you from very since, and you're my ideal designer. Actually, I have studied architecture as well as interiors. That's exactly how I did it as well. I am fresher now. I just want to know if there is any vacancy you provide for the freshmen. I would love to work with you. Thanks. Right now, I'm growing my team, but I have now positions already filled. But every new position, I always announce it on Instagram, and then you can see and apply." Jenny asked, "Can you go over a little more on detailed drawing? Do you do that in Ryan on AutoCAD?" I do my construction drawings, as I said in the beginning of our lecture, always in AutoCAD, and I do plan layout, initial plan layout to into the Ryan design. But both programs are comparable with each other. You can export DWG from both Ryan and AutoCAD, and import and export those two the files into those two programs. Paola asks, "Thank you, Vlada. That was very helpful. I wonder how you manage technical drawings between clients and suppliers, for example, kitchen design cabinetry." Okay, the kitchen question is very good because essentially kitchen would be a very big part of your project. And how I personally do this, I communicate with the clients. I do my kitchen, the elevation, the plans of it on my construction drawings. I adhere to the wishes of my client, of course, because kitchen is such a personal item in your home. That's why I try to do it as maximum as I can for my elevation for the kitchen. And then the client, or sometimes I with the client, will go together to the kitchen to the kitchen builders, and we will take my drawings and my 3Ds to them, and then they will advise if maybe we can adjust slightly to make the kitchen a bit more budget friendly, or maybe they will ask, maybe they will also provide us with some innovative solutions that maybe I don't know, because of course everyone knows something in their area. For example, we know better how to do interior designs, but then you would listen to the kitchen builders that they would know better information about the kitchen. That's how I work actually. So I always, all my information that I have on the drawings, I would like also to then run through with the specialists that I have, and to see if they agree on my design, or if they can even improve. And I'm always welcome for the improvement, because I know that the structural engineers, they would know better than I am about load-bearing walls. That's why never be shy and never be ashamed to ask. I always ask maybe hundreds of questions, but then at the end, I know that my project is going to work 100%. And of course, this is experience for me as well. Sanitary asked, "Is it the same regarding bespoke furniture?" Yeah, for the bespoke furniture, I always like to run through my drawings with the cabinet maker, and we always sit down together, or I send them drawings, and we always communicate extra, maybe even without the client, and I tell them which color I want, maybe some special features that I want. Sometimes I always do a specific SketchUp model for maybe a specific bespoke furniture to show better, to demonstrate better how I want to do this or how I want to implement my ideas to life. But again, thank you very much for being there. Thank you very much for listening to me. And of course, I encourage you go to try the sheet program. It's completely free of charge. So you can have a look at yourself if you like to use it in your design process. And we see you on the webinar number 3. It's going to be about of course, construction site supervision, the site supervision, and the connection between construction drawings and site supervision. Thank you very much again for being there, and bye-bye. See you next time.